Welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. It's just a joy every single week to get to come and be with you because I'm still in the middle of crafting my life. I know you are in the middle of crafting yours, and I'm always thinking about what guests do I want to bring onto the show that really bring us that point, to have us ponder those things, to not just be the bobblehead on the dashboard that's like, okay, whatever happens to me is okay. I'll just let it come. We actually have the opportunity to craft our lives and what we want and what we want to draw into our lives and what we don't. And so to that end today, I have a dear friend and guest, Nate Randle. Nate, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Mary. So good to be with you. Thanks for the invite.
Do you remember the first day we met?
It was at an event
Yeah.
somewhere.
We were at the Silicon Slopes Promise to Live town hall.
Yes. That is the first time I remember.
And I didn't know you, you didn't know me, but when we were introduced, this is what you said to me. And it meant so much to me. I haven't forgotten it. You said, I get to meet the Mary Crafts. And I'm like, how does he even know me? He goes, all my friends know you and all my friends have you as a friend. And we're not even connected. I'm like, well, same. All my friends know Nate Randle and we're not even connected. And that day, there was something, Nate, that said to our souls inside, we are same.
Agree.
We walk a path, maybe not walked by many, but chosen by us. So I kind of want to start right there. Tell me about the path that you have chosen. What are you walking? What do you see? What is your vision? What is Nate Randle about?
That's a very thoughtful question to start. And before I share that, I do want to say that I did know who you were. I just hadn't met you. So when you say I didn't know, oh, I knew Mary Crafts. I just hadn't had the opportunity to meet you.
Yeah,
And so
same.
that's why I approached and wanted to say hello. And I am in awe of your goodness. Whenever I see an event in the community that's charity driven, you're at every one of them. Every one of them. And it's easy for you to say, well, I have the time or I've made the time. But it is a massive commitment to get off the couch or leave your home and go into the community multiple times a week to show up for people to give back. And you do it more than anybody I know.
Wow. Thank
So
you, Nate.
although we haven't spent a lot of time together, I see the way you give your time and it is truly inspiring.
Thank you. I have a lot of friends who are my age now. I'm 71, who are like, what the heck are you doing, Mary? I mean, you're spending your money over here on all these different causes. You could be going around the world. You could be spending all of your time in Puerto Vallarta. You could be golfing every day. I'm like, yeah, I could. I also have chosen a different path. And that's
By the way,
why.
if you want to golf every day, I am up for that. I would be willing to do it. We could still give back and golf.
I'm going to see you very shortly. I think you're going to be at the Live Your Dream golf tournament.
I will. Something
Yeah.
very near and dear.
Yeah.
So I'll answer your question, but first I just wanted to acknowledge the goodness that you do because it's part of the reason why I wanted to come and be a part of this.
Thank you, Nate.
You ask about path. My path, like everybody, has had its ups and downs. I am at a point in life where I want my path to be about people. And by people, I mean making sure that I'm giving or connected in a way that enhances the lives of people, the people around me, the people that are in need, the people that need to be seen. I grew up in a home where by the time I was 9, both of my biological parents were gone, and we can get into that if you want. But with so much loss early in my life, it took me until I got a bit older, but I realized there's so many people in need, and my greatest joy is being in the center of giving to those that need help. So I would say my path is focused on people and giving when I can. with the hope that it'll uplift or help somebody find their own path.
I know that about you. You're someone who has more followers than I can ever imagine. You look on LinkedIn and your numbers are in the tens of thousands of people who follow you. Why do you think they follow you? Why do they want to look at Nate Randle?
I'm going to give you the immediate answer that came to my mind. The followers, that term already makes me feel uncomfortable.
Right?
I wish there was a different term for it.
Because then it puts you in the role of influencer, and heaven
Yes.
forbid I ever be an
Yeah,
influencer.
I don't
Yeah,
love it. And there's
yeah,
times where I shy away from it to the point where I stop posting or sharing because
yeah,
I go through periods where I'm uncomfortable with it and I just don't want to deal with it. I felt better about what I was doing when I had 5,000 quote unquote followers than 80, because at 5,000 I felt like I knew most of those people and I
yep,
could find different ways to serve them. And now I feel like it's a bit surfacey at times, and I don't
mhm,
love that. If I could go back, I would want less of that.
yeah.
And I'd want to have a smaller group of people that I could make a bigger impact with. But I think what it comes down to answer your question and why people want to follow my content or pay attention is because I've picked a very specific group to focus on, and that's single parents. Almost half of our country at one point or another is a single parent.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a single parent home. I know how challenging it is. I have an incredible second dad, my real dad, who gave everything to take care of us. But I think the reason that people want to tune in and pay attention to what I'm sharing is because it's representing and advocating for a voice who so often is forgotten, and that's single parents.
Which is why you love Live Your Dream Foundation, because they're giving scholarships to those single mothers. The founder, Katie Bunnell, was the path that she had to walk. And even though I was not ever a single mother, my path was that of single parent. And for 28 years during the growth of my children, most of that fell to me, earning the living, parenting, and like you, Nate, I walked away from that situation with so much gratitude for it. I could be in the role of saying, well, that wasn't that hell. And why did that happen to me? And oh, if only this and if only that. But to be in the position now of being able to look back and say, that's why I am who I am,
Mm-hmm.
is because of the path I walked. And I would venture to say you feel the same.
I do. I would love to ask you, what was your lowest point?
Huh.
If you think back to everything that you went through, your lowest point, what was it? And if you don't share all the details, but just the moment where you knew you were at the bottom. And I'm sure now with where you're at, you can look back to that moment. What was that moment for you?
Yeah. Through the 28 years of my marriage as a survivor of domestic violence, there were many points in that. But I also look back to prior to my marriage as a child growing up. And because of my upbringing, that then I allowed myself to be in that position and to
Mm-hmm.
stay. So it had nothing to do with my husband at that time. It had everything to do with me and what I allowed into my life because of my own sense of self-worth. When you asked me that question, the very first thing that came to my mind was when I was in the middle of my divorce at age 55. And I was the one with the business and I was the one with the career and the money. Everyone just can't understand why then you wouldn't just leave, because that's one of the things that keeps women from leaving those situations is their fear of not being able to support themselves. But for me, I had to come face to face with the little girl who didn't feel she was worth anything more. And I can remember during that divorce still feeling like, I hope I've done the right thing. My children are just, my youngest had just graduated from high school. And then I found out that after all was said and done, he was now going to sue me for ownership of the company and that I was unfit to lead. And I thought, what else? What else can be taken from me? And I remember kneeling on this ottoman in front of our fireplace and just thinking, I thought I knew the bottom. I thought I knew what the bottom felt like. But this is a new place. This is a new low. I feel completely abandoned and alone. I didn't know where my God was. I didn't know where my children were. They were torn. Of course they supported me and they felt like they lived their whole lives with the other shoe waiting to drop. But yet they loved their dad. And I was alone in the house now. And I felt totally abandoned. I stayed there in that position for the longest time. And when I finally stood up is when I had the first glimmer. This has nothing to do with anyone else. And not even God. This has to do with me. I have to show up for myself. I have to stand up for me. I have to see the worth of my soul. And from that moment, it began to look up from the bottom of that well and to claim who Mary's eternal soul is. Well, I certainly didn't intend to share any of that, Nate.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And my summary of what you just shared is that's why you show up for people. That's why you've been to the lowest point, and when you feel like everything's been taken and you're questioning what else could possibly be taken from me. And then you, through a lot of hard work and perseverance and more difficult times, you get to what you believe is the other side of it. Yeah. That's why someone like you shows up to every moment that matters to somebody else, because you know what the bottom feels like and you don't want other people to sit in that alone. And so you consistently show up. And I found that when I go to events or when I'm supporting something, the others that I'm spending time with there have been to the bottom. They know the point that was the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's not just a moment, it's an extended period of time. And they're there to give because they want to help other people through those moments. So that's why I have so much love and respect for you. Is yours wasn't an easy path. It wasn't a given path. It wasn't a handed down path. You had to find your own and fight through it. But now look at who you are and what you're doing for others. It's when I say, and for people that may not see it as much as I do, and certainly that others see a lot more of, you literally are at every moment that matters for people. I see you in every picture, at every event. I'm like, goodness, how does she do it? Is there 3 of her? Is there like Mary Craft and Mary Craft? I just don't know how you do it, but you do it. And it's so impressive.
It does live and breathe inside of me, Nate. It's that piece, and you mentioned the word of empathy, that I believe that I had empathy for the longest time, but I didn't know how to accept it inside of myself and feel it, and then heal enough so that I could be there for other people. Absolutely, that is why I show up. The other night, Live Your Dream Foundation and Best Seat in the House got together, and they did an event at Thanksgiving Point where first we went downstairs in the we had Tulip Festival tickets for mothers and their daughters for Mother's Day. We first went downstairs and we pampered those mothers and daughters. And so some had, manicures, some had this, and they had called and said, "Mary, do you want to paint nails?" And I thought, how do they even know if I can paint nails? But I said, "Oh, yes, of course." And I showed up and I was just painting away nails for people and, manicuring and soaking the little nails and so on and so on. And this woman sat down and I said, "Well, so these are the colors. This is that. This is here." And I became aware that she was filming me. And so I kind of looked up and looked right at her. And I said, "You're filming me?" And she said, her jaw like down here, she goes, "Mary Crafts is going to paint my nails?" I
Yeah.
can't, Jimmy. And I began to get this idea of how she saw me. And I think that's why I do show up, Nate. Is I want people to know that we all walk through trials. We all can take time to serve. I have been on your path. And there she sat and then began to weep. I not only did her nails that night, I began to knit a little piece of her heart.
And that's what those
Showing
single
up.
parents, that's what those single parents need. That's what those
Yeah.
single moms need is they need a break. They need to feel like they're the center because they rarely are. And then someone like you shows up and gives your time and takes care of them. And that's a rare moment for them.
Yeah, it was really special. I can't even begin to tell you how wonderful that
Well,
was.
it's so kind that you went. I'm on the board of Live Your Dream and you
I
go to
know
more,
you are. I
so you
know.
go to more of the events than I do.
Well, they probably didn't ask you to come paint nails, Nate. So seriously, but the next time.
True. True, true.
So this empathy piece, let's talk about that for just a moment. What about your lowest point? Where did your empathy grow? Because that is something that is very keen. That day when you spoke at Silicon Slopes and you were up on the stage, that was one of the messages that I took away, is that Nate feels deeply and he sees people. He sees me because you see yourself. Talk to me about that.
I lost my mom in a car accident when I was 9. And I know everyone says they love their mom
Yeah.
and most would rave about the goodness of their mother. My mom was elite. She was exceptional. She was the very best of the best. I remember as a little kid watching her walk into a room at church or at a family function or at a neighborhood party, and the room would pause and pay attention to what she did. I remember as a kid thinking, why does everyone look at my mom? And it wasn't just her beauty, it was her empathy and love and care she had for people. She made everyone feel like they were the most important person. And a lot of people say that. It's become a bit of a cliche statement, but she truly did it. And when I learned more about who she was after she passed, for now 40 years,
Wow.
I've had people come up to me in airports, at sporting events, at business events, and say, I went to high school with your mom. I lived next to your mom when she went through her divorce. I actually babysitted you. People tell me they babysat me for my mom. And your mom, the loss of your mom, was one of the hardest things I've ever experienced. And she's the kindest, most beautiful woman I've ever met.
Wow.
And so when I lost her, and then I got to experience how much people truly loved her, instead of wondering, why me? Why did I have to lose her? I shifted to how lucky I was to even have her for the 9 years that I had her. And when I shifted my thinking,
Yeah.
I then wanted to serve and do things in her honor, in her to frame her legacy or to carry forth her legacy, instead of feeling like I was a victim because of her passing. I don't want to be too long with my answer. Then later in life, my wife and I, life seemed perfect. I had a great job in sports. We had a beautiful 2-year-old little daughter, and we were at full term with our second child, ready to literally going to the hospital to deliver. And I had been to every doctor appointment. I hadn't missed one. I knew exactly what was going on with this baby. The doctor had said, healthy, happy, everything's going so well. And I won't go through all the details, but when we went in to deliver that day at 36 or 37 weeks, we ended up losing our daughter. And so there I was as a 30-something-year-old dad who had lost my mom as a kid and now had lost my child as a father. And we were living in California at the time, and I had to fly back to Utah and bury my daughter next to my mom. The day we left Utah to go back to California and I left my daughter buried next to my mom is the lowest point of my life. And when we got back to California, there were a few weeks where I couldn't get out of bed. I just felt like, what's the point? If everybody around me is eventually going to have something happen to them or pass away, why do I keep pressing so hard in the trivial things that don't matter? And I had to get back to a healthy balance of realizing that life still had purpose and there were a lot of good things out in front of me. And when I climbed out of that, that's when I said, okay, I have to be someone that is giving and that is looking for the good, because if not, I'll dwell in the past and it'll bury me, literally bury me.
Yeah.
So that's part of my path, is loss and trying to recover from that, and then realizing that those losses don't define you. And now I truly believe my mom and my daughter are with me.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm serving or as I'm giving in some capacity, I view it as doing it for us, not just for me.
Yeah. I think of that experience I've had so many times, and I'm sure that in your life you've had this too, Nate, where you get a sense that people look at you as the perfect life. I mean, of course it's easy for Nate to be all these things. I mean, he has the golden spoon. He's CEO of a major company. He has a beautiful wife and family. When has life ever been hard for Nate? Of course he can do this. It's why I can't do that. I haven't had all those opportunities. And they love to make excuses for why they are stuck and why you are where you are. That's not the case with any of us,
Yeah, very, very rarely. Some of the people I admire the most have been through the most.
right?
Yeah, I don't know why life plays out that way, but some of the people that I truly love and respect have been through some of the massive trials, bigger than mine. And they hold on and they figure out a way to give in the center of it all. It's the human spirit and the drive of someone to get back to a good place in their life so they can give, I think, is one of the most remarkable things. So it's one of the things I find the most joy in watching someone do, is rebuild or get back to a better place and then give back.
And history is just recount with all of those kinds of people, like Viktor Frankl in his concentration camp experience. It could have turned him one direction. Instead, it turned him outward. And he has been one of my best mentors. And I've read everything he's ever written.
Hmm.
That they took everything from him, everything. But the one thing they couldn't take was his mind. And those people end up being the greatest givers.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen many situations like this as I serve in nonprofits of people who are in need, whether they be here in the United States or in Kenya or in Ukraine, that when they've passed through those kinds of things, it either does one of two things to you. It either turns you outward or inward. And the hope is that it turns us both.
Yeah.
Inward first to take a look, and then outward to lift. Yeah. So, Nate, what do you see as the principles that you engage with, that you keep forward in your mind, that you know keep you on the path that you want to live? Are there certain things that you feel like you live in, that you are cognizant of every single day?
I don't know if I can say every single day, because the craziness of life often gets in the way, but when I have to constantly recenter myself. And when I do, the driving thought or the leading principle that keeps me going is, now that I've experienced loss, I know what I remember about the people that I've lost. And I've had more loss in my life. And I can truly say that I don't go back through thoughts and memories with those people and keep track of how much money they were worth,
Yeah.
their job titles. I don't care about any of that. I think about the moments where they were thoughtful and cared about me, or I saw them giving to someone, or the way they made people feel through the holidays or birthdays or special moments. I think about those same people who showed up to every moment in my life that mattered. And if that's really what matters, and that's what I remember, then what do I want my legacy to be? And what do I want my kids and my wife, who are my tightest circle, what do I want them to remember about me?
Yeah.
And a wake-up call for me, I was working at Nike 11 or 12 years ago, and I had worked my entire career to get to Nike. I care about sports.
You're pretty good at them.
It's my passion.
Yeah.
And at the height of my career at Nike, my kids were questioning why I was missing t-ball games and dance recitals.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit me that my kids don't even care that I work at Nike.
Right.
They care that I'm at the dance recital and the baseball practice, but I can't do it because I'm traveling so much. And so I'm either going to continue on this path where my career is first and my kids are second, because that was the reality. I didn't love admitting that, but that's what it was. Or I was going to reset and truly put them first. And when I did that, I went to a place that wasn't Nike, and my kids didn't care.
Yeah.
As long as they're provided for and you're there for them, I always thought the career was the driving interest and what people cared most about. And I woke up and realized they really don't care.
Yeah.
So I want to be remembered for being there for them and allowing them to see, my kids anyway, seeing their mom and dad giving back. That'll be more than important than how much money I made or the career I built.
I think that's absolutely right. They really don't care how much money you make.
Yep.
I can look back and I wish I had learned that lesson when you learned it, Nate. I didn't learn it till much, much later. And not being single, but being kind of the single parent.
Mm-hmm.
Having to balance between career and showing up for games and showing up for those kinds of things and being there for my children. And then because I was the founder and the owner and the CEO and wore all the hats, I always felt like it fell to me to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to believe that I could do it all. But in the end, Nate, unfortunately, my family suffered.
Yep.
And I always justified it in my head by saying, well, if I'm not working, who is? If I'm not doing these things for you, well, then who is?
Yep.
Give me some credit. until really I started having grandchildren. And then, no, I don't have to go to that. I can choose them. I can choose. You left an entire career that you'd worked your life for at Nike. So you could choose something different. It's that realization that we can choose.
We can, and I don't want to be misleading. I want to make money. Money's not a bad thing. And
Not a bad thing.
I want to be extremely successful in my career, and I want to win.
Yep.
I don't show up to work to be second place.
Yep.
So I have a competitive drive in me. And if I'm going to be a part of something, I'm going to be all in. But a shift in what really matters, I had to get to a place where my career can matter to me. How much money I'm making or not making can matter to me, but I shouldn't imprint that on my kids as the most important thing. What's more important to my kids is that they have a dance competition on a Thursday night, and am I going to control my calendar in a way that allows me to be there, or am I going to let work drive me in a way where I have all the excuses in the world not to show up, and then I blame not being there on work? And the reality is, if I plan correctly and think through things in advance, I should be able to be there for what matters most. So it's just a shift in the way I view things.
Yeah, definitely a shift. I can remember after I retired, and I've been retired now almost 7 years, each one of my children, randomly, it wasn't something that was planned. We were on an activity, just one-on-one, and they each shared with me their thoughts as a child, asking, I wonder where Mom is tonight, and what's more important than me. To hear that at this age, and to know that that's behind me. I can't go back. We cannot go back. We can live in regret our whole life, and that's not functional either. Regret's the worst of the human emotions because you can do nothing about it.
Yeah.
But by hearing them and not blaming them for not giving me credit for how hard I worked, but truly hearing them and stepping into accountability for my choices, I darn well could shift what the rest of my life looked like. So when I'm not showing up at these nonprofits that you see, I'm showing up at my grandchildren and my children still, who do not allow me to post on social media about them. So everyone thinks I do these other things, but my life truly is the other direction. I made that decision that they were going to be more important to me. And every one of my associations know that. Mary, can you do this on Thursday night? No, I have a baseball game.
Yeah.
Like, you play baseball? No. But my 7-year-old grandson does. And to them, it would seem like, well, it's a 7-year-old baseball game, and seriously, it's not that important. I'm like, it is to me. It is those choices that we're making on a daily basis, Nate, that change the direction that we're going.
I'm with you. I agree.
I know that because I see it on your LinkedIn feed, I know about your mom. I wept when I read your Mother's Day post, and I saw her photos. She is everything you described today. I read about your daughter on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. It's interesting how many people on LinkedIn think that they should be posting only about business. That, I'm going to tell you about my great AI breakthrough, and and this is how we're managing this, and my HR department is blah, 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 blah. You're posting real content about real lives. Now, it's not that, Gab, your company, is not important to you. And it's not that it's not doing phenomenal things, but you see your life as a whole, not in these disjunct kind of pieces. And that one supports the other, and you post real content. Remember at the beginning of the show, I asked you why people follow you? Why do you have so many followers? I thought about that as I was getting ready this morning. Why do so many people follow Nate? Well, I think there are those wannabes that follow you because, you know, I'm going to be Nate. I'm going to be Nate Randle someday. They want to use you as an example. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people follow you because they want to play less than. They want to beat themselves up every day. They want to give themselves an excuse for not being all that they can be. Because we'll look at Nate, he can do that, but he had these advantages.
Yeah.
I think some people follow you, and the majority of the people who follow you are those people who see you as an authentic, genuine individual who is vulnerable. That word for me just resonates when I'm with you, when I see you, when I see your posts, when I was with you at Silicon Slopes at the town hall. You are willing to be vulnerable. You are willing to show the good and the bad and sometimes the hard and the difficult, sometimes the joys and the happiness. You show the whole package. How's that work for you? Do you feel like that's part of who you are?
Yeah, but you have to. I certainly understand why people don't. I understand why they don't want to share personal stories. I understand why they want to keep it strictly business. I'm the same person everywhere I'm at. And so I don't have work Nate and home Nate. And I
Yeah.
just don't have that. It's too much to manage. And so I'm just me. And I've decided to share some vulnerability because it's where I've made my greatest connections and friendships. I wouldn't be on the board of Live Your Dream with Katie
Right?
had I not shared that I grew up in a single parent home. One of the greatest joys of my life now, outside of my family, is supporting Live Your Dream and creating a scholarship in my mom's name and helping to fund that scholarship and gifting that opportunity to single moms. That is exactly what my mom would want me to be doing.
Right?
And I get to be a part of it because Katie built this beautiful foundation. She saw my story. I saw hers. I was looking for a foundation to join. I wanted it to be a thoughtful, authentic experience. I reached out to her and she allowed me to be on her board. And now 2.5 years
Yeah.
later, if that's the only reason that I was vulnerable in sharing my experiences, it's been worth it because now I've given multiple scholarships to single moms.
Yeah.
I've also been able to help a lot of single moms and dads get jobs. Some of it has been through LinkedIn, some of it has been behind the scenes, but now hundreds of people have had the opportunity to find a better experience or not be without a job for an extended period of time because they saw my story
Yeah.
and trusted that I would authentically help them. So for me, the vulnerability is worth it because it's how I get connected to people who need help, and that's how I can serve. LinkedIn, as crazy as it sounds, allows me to serve at scale.
Ah.
I can share my vulnerability at scale. People can see it. They can reach out or I can get connected to them. And it's an immediate, it eliminates all the setup time. And I can say, I grew up in a single parent
Yeah.
home, had challenges you have. Can I help you find a job? And we can get right to helping instead of all this setup time. So there has certainly been periods of time where I've been mocked for it or on other social media platforms. I've had my content shared as if it's trivial or I'm trying to get attention. And I'm just at a point in life where I don't care. I
Yeah.
want to
I
mock it or
think
make fun of it. That's on you, not me. And I just don't have any time for it.
that is the epitome, Nate. That's what we're all working for, where we care zippo about what other people think and only about what we think and the people that matter to us and how they're experiencing us. That is it. When I put a post up about something wonderful that I'm doing and that kind of and encouraging people, hi, follow this link and you can be a volunteer as well, blah, blah, blah. And then someone comments and says, oh, I love your dress. Seriously?
Yeah.
That's not what I was talking about. Was
Although
my dress.
we do love your dress. Your style is next level.
But I'm like, doesn't that kind of frustrate you when you share your heart and then someone comes back with a post about, hey, I saw you golfing the other day. Look good, you know? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I care more about helping the single mom find the job than I do about somebody mocking me for trying to help the single mom get the job. I just
yeah.
don't. Initially, when I started to share, it bothered me and it backed me off a bit. And then I just got to a place where I just don't care.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
greatest freedom that I experienced was when I realized that what others saw in me is what lived in them. And so when people and women say to me, Mary, I want to be like you someday. I want to do this. I want to do this. I love this about you. I immediately say, the reason you see that in me is because it already lives in you. If it didn't, it wouldn't. You wouldn't see it in me.
Yeah.
And vice versa is true. When people see in me a narcissist, when people see in me someone who needs to showboat, when people see in me someone who thinks they're all that, unfortunately, that's what lives in them and their need to find their own self-worth. And so when people make offhanded comments, and you and I are in a position enough to hear those offhand comments that they think they're being funny but not, I'm able to let that go and see
Yeah.
that I'm sorry that that's what's living inside of you right now. But I
Yeah.
still see you. And I still care about what happens to you in your life. And I hope you choose a different path.
Could you just come sit in my office on like Tuesdays and Thursdays and let me work? But then when I say, Mary, I need some inspiration, you could just speak and you could
Okay.
motivate me and make me feel inspired and good, and then I could just go back to working again. Just Tuesdays and Thursdays now.
Okay. I can probably fit that into my schedule if I don't have to be there till 9.
That's fine. Well, 10 is good.
Because I am retired, you know.
True. True, true.
That's how I feel about you, Nate. If I'm on LinkedIn and I just want an uplift, sometimes people don't show up in your feed. I have to search you. I have to go back up to my search button, put Nate Randle, and then I just can feel good the rest of the day.
There he is. I'm tired. I've taken a break for a while. I haven't been around much, but
Yeah.
I try to show up for single parents and make sure their
And that's
content's
what
good.
you posted for Mother's Day, and that what meant a
I didn't
lot to
even
me.
do I didn't even do that this year. If you saw something, it might have been a
Really?
past post. Yeah, I shared about my mom a while ago, but this year
Ah.
I took it off
Well,
and just
maybe
spent
it was down farther in your feed, but I just saw this
probably.
photo of her, and I was struck by it because obviously it's an old photo, and
Yeah.
that she was probably holding you,
Hmm.
and just I thought how beautiful she is, and there's
Yeah,
something about this woman.
she's
Yeah.
been gone 40 years this year,
Wow.
and her legacy is stronger than it's ever been. She's
Yeah.
got multiple grandkids doing incredible things. Her kids, my brother and sister, are incredible humans. They love their spouses and kids and serve in their communities and give to others. She just, she was here for less than 10 years and packed a lifetime of teaching to the point where I look at I'm the oldest, my little brother and sister and their kids, and I'm, s- I'm so proud of them. It's so good to see who they become because of my mom's goodness.
Wow. I love that tribute. And thank you for sharing that, Nate. And thanks
Of
for
course.
being with us today on Crafting a Meaningful Life. You're in the middle of that. You are definitely with your eyes focused on, I'm going to have a life that matters and means something, and I'm going to leave a legacy. And I'm going to, but not just leave a legacy, I'm going to live a legacy. I'm going to live a life worth living. And you are doing that, my friend.
Oh,
And I
thanks.
just applaud you and who you are and what you stand for in this life, and for all the men that you inspire to be better. You inspire a lot of women. I inspire a lot of women, but you inspire men. And I hope to shout, it's a harder task. It's easy to inspire women. We're emotional. It's much harder to inspire men, and you do that every day you take a breath. And like you said, long after you take your last, you will still be inspiring.
Coming from you, it means a lot. You're very kind. Thank you. And thanks for inviting me. You can't be on every podcast invite, or
Yeah.
I get tired of hearing my own story, but when you reached out, that's just one of those immediate, absolutely.
I was
Absolutely.
really just like tickled pink. I was like, he said
Thank you.
yes.
Oh, goodness. Thank you for the invite. So kind of you. Love you,
All
Mary.
right.
Thank you.
My friend, thank you for sharing time and space with us today. And may love and light walk with you always.
Crafting a meaningful life.